thrown. I saw it, a big flame as high as a tree, and all I saw was someone on fire.
Investigators in Washington, D.C. just over a week ago. That suspect is accused of killing a young couple, two Israeli embassy staffers. It happened right here outside of a Jewish museum. Authorities say he yelled "Free Palestine" as well.
Messages who were taken during the October 7th terrorist attacks and are still being held in Gaza. The group was gathered at the Pearl Street Mall, which is a very popular, very highly trafficked area. And then this is what the FBI says happened.
Welcome to the Reaction Radar. Folks, I just want to let you know, this is graphic. But these were footage from news, and this is for educational and debate purposes. A peaceful protest turned into a firestorm. Was this terrorism in broad daylight? Let's get into it.
So this morning, the FBI is investigating what it's calling a targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. According to our sister station in Denver, it happened at an outdoor event on Sunday meant to raise awareness about Israeli hostages still being held in Gaza. So the FBI now says 8 people are injured after a man attacked a group with a makeshift flamethrower, often known as a Molotov cocktail, as he yelled "Free Palestine."
Point of view, all of a sudden I felt the heat, like it was a Molotov cocktail equivalent, a gas bomb in a glass jar, thrown. I saw it, a big flame as high as a tree, and all I saw was someone on fire.
Investigators say the victims range in age from 52 up to 88, some with serious injuries, others they say with minor wounds. The suspect was arrested at the scene and taken into custody. Now, this attack in Colorado follows a deadly shooting you may remember in Washington, D.C. just over a week ago. That suspect is accused of killing a young couple, two Israeli embassy staffers. It happened right here outside of a Jewish museum. Authorities say he yelled "Free Palestine" as well as he was being arrested. Georgia lawmakers this morning are responding to the attack in Colorado. Attorney General Chris Carr posting on X saying in part, there is no place for anti-Semitism or politically motivated violence in our society, and we will never stay silent in the face of hate. Also, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp urging prayers for the victims and swift justice as the investigation continues, adding, quote, our support for Israel and our Jewish friends and neighbors must continue to be unwavering in the face of these cowardly acts. We will have much more on the attack throughout the morning and a live report coming up from Washington around 6:45 for more on what the FBI is focusing on its investigation and how security is becoming more critical at these Israeli events.
Folks, so far, what do you think about that? You know, as we go on, we're gonna find out who this gentleman is and what he did, and things of that nature. But so far, what's your thought process on this? Let's engage. Drop your comments in the comment line. We're gonna go from there. Now, as you're watching the second show, I want you to think about some things. Are we missing signs of radicalization? Should people like this be tracked before it turns violent? But then if we do that, are we infringing on people's rights? But these are the things that we need to think about, right? Let's jump into this one here.
In Colorado.
That's right. Police say a man set several people on fire during a rally, raising awareness for the hostages still in Gaza. Let's get right to Good Day's Haley Fixler. She's live outside Temple Emmanuel on the Upper East Side with the very latest. Haley, good morning.
Good morning, Dan, Tashani. Yeah, this is very concerning and very frightening for a lot of people. And today is also a Jewish holiday, so there's going to be a lot of people coming to synagogue both today and tomorrow. So in the wake of this attack, NYPD is amping up security at Jewish places of worship. And this is now the second time in less than 2 weeks that they've had to do so because of an attack on members of the Jewish community. So here is what we know about this most recent violent event in Colorado. We know that there are 8 victims that range in age from 52 to 88. And reports indicate the 88-year-old is a Holocaust survivor. One of the victims is in critical condition, and we know some victims are at a burn unit. Investigators say there was a group of people, part of an organization called Run for Their Lives, peacefully raising awareness for the 58 hostages who were taken during the October 7th terrorist attacks and are still being held in Gaza. The group was gathered at the Pearl Street Mall, which is a very popular, very highly trafficked area. And then this is what the FBI says happened.
Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell "Free Palestine" during the attack. It is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
Video from bystanders also show the suspect, 45-year-old Mohamed Sabry, saying, quote, "We have to end Zionists." He was taken into custody fairly quickly after the attack. Now, here's what we know about him. Officials say Soliman is an Egyptian national who is here illegally after overstaying his tourist visa and overstaying a work permit. Investigators believe he acted alone, but they are...
See, and that's one of my concerns. Right. And I want you guys to think about this for a minute as well. If someone comes over on a visa, it expires and they stay, then what? You know, it goes all the way back to this whole immigration thing that we're facing right now. You know, I kind of have some mixed feelings about this, but what do you say? What's your thought process on this? I just want to hear. Let's engage.
Continuing to work to put all of the pieces together. Officials also say they're going to do what they can to secure justice, and they want to put an end to these violent attacks.
What I would stress now, most importantly, is we are fully united 100% in making sure the charges we bring hold the attacker fully accountable.
Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country. This is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities across our nation.
Mayor Eric Adams responding to this terrorist attack on social media. In part, he writes, quote, "Another act of horrific, vile anti-Semitism and terrorism in our country." He added, quote, "We will not rest until we root out this unacceptable violence and rhetoric from our communities." Again, both the NYPD and Mayor Eric Adams says that they are tracking and monitoring things here very closely. And as for the suspect, we're told that investigators and prosecutors will be announcing charges against him in the next couple of days. Live on the Upper East Side, Dan, Tashani, back to you.
Now, you know, that question I asked you guys earlier, you know, another thing we need to consider is free speech. Is free speech at risk? If people are attacked for protesting, is free speech still safe? Or are we silencing the voice through fear? You know, again, I would love to hear your comments. Drop it in the comment line. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, stay informed and engaged. Have a good one.